Alright guys, in this lesson I'm going to show you everything you need to know about navigating through the TURO app, which is going to be very important because all of your business is pretty much going to be run through this app. So this is the website version, but the app is pretty much the exact same thing. So I'm going to show you my profile real quick. This is me, over 1110 trips on TURO. Like I mentioned earlier, 4.9 star rating out of 5, and shows a few of my cars on there, response rate, response time, things like that. All right, so let's jump right into everything. So here's the host section. I'm going to go into vehicles, and I'm going to show you pretty much everything you need to know using one vehicle as an example, because you can understand how to do it with one vehicle, then you can understand how to use it throughout multiple vehicles. So let's go ahead and use my 2016 Chevy Camaro as an example. So the first tab here is going to be the calendar. So we're at the end of April. I'm going to go ahead and go into May so we can see a full calendar. So everything here with the lines through it, that just means it's booked. So you can see I'm booked for almost half of May already. If you want to go ahead and change your pricing, here's how you're going to do it. You're just going to click on any date in the calendar. You're going to go ahead and hit edit. And you're going to change it to whatever price you want. So you're going to see here that TURO provides you a recommendation, but you don't always have to go by the recommendation. Right now I'm on the automatic pricing, so that's why you can go ahead and see that have the exact price that they recommended here. So we'll go ahead and save changes. We're going to leave it as it is. Go to another price here. All right. So one of the cool things about the calendar, if you ever want to add unavailability period, you can go ahead and add times that you're unavailable. Why is this useful? So let's say you work a full-time job and you know that every week on Monday and Tuesdays, you're gonna need your car to drive into the office for yourself. So you can go ahead and set every Monday and Tuesday, and you can go ahead and click this button and it'll repeat it weekly. So every week, Monday and Tuesday, your car is gonna be blocked off for you to use. So that's useful because you don't want to get bookings on days that you're not available, because that's going to lead to you having to cancel bookings. That's going to lead to you having to decline bookings. So if you don't cancel and you decline, what's going to happen is your acceptance rate is going to go down. And when your acceptance rate goes down or your cancellation rate goes up, either two of those things are going to decrease your visibility in search results, which is going to take away from your ability to become an all-star host. And it's going to take away from your ability to get recognized by other people trying to book your car right away. So those aren't good, and that's how using the calendar can come into your advantage. So if you do know that there's going to be dates for your car that it can be booked, always make sure and go here, and you're going to head and click that button. You're going to add the dates of unavailability. So we'll go ahead and unselect this, and we'll go ahead and exit out of here. Another cool thing about the calendar is if you use Google Calendar a lot, which I do, you go ahead and integrate it with your Google Calendar, so that way you can see it as it pertains to the rest of your schedule. You know, if you're like me, you have a bunch of other things going on, it's really helpful, and it can help keep you on track. So that's another cool thing, a cool feature that they have. So that's just the overview of the calendar. We'll go more into depth with pricing and discounts here. So right now I have automatic pricing on. I don't always have it on, but as of late, it's been working really well for me. So I have minimum price at $80, maximum at $184. So that means that TURO is going to take the overall marketplace. They're going to use similar cars that I have, and based on demand, based on time of the year, day of the week, everything like that, that's how TURO is going to determine their pricing. So my car will never be booked for anything lower than 80. Can't book for anything more than 184. And that's just based off TURO's. They have a thorough algorithm that shows the demand of all other cars similar to your car. And like I said, it's been working really well for me, which is why I have it on right now. If you want to turn it off, you can easily just go to off. And when it's off, my price for every day, regardless of the day, would just stay at 113. So having it on is cool because it's going to fluctuate. If I kept it at 113 every day, it's not going to get booked as often, because sometimes 113 is way too high for this car. Sometimes 113 is way too low for this car. So having an automatic is very helpful, and I've noticed that it does help a lot. I just wouldn't rely on it 100% of the time. I think it's really good to use a mix of automatic pricing and using comparisons for what your car is doing. So the same thing that TURO does, the way they look at the market, you can do that yourself, because sometimes your your market analysis is going to be better than Turo's. I know for me, my analysis is better than Turo a lot of the time, which is why I only use automatic pricing to my discretion. So I probably use automatic pricing 40% of the time. Most of the time, I'm going in, looking at my calendar, looking at other cars, their pricing, seeing how my car is getting booked, and that's how I'm thoroughly analyzing my pricing and setting my prices accordingly. If you want to go to custom pricing, it's easy. You just go to custom prices and you just click this button. It's going to take you to your calendar, the same tab that we were on before. You're going to be able to change dates within your calendar the way I just showed you. So discounts. Discounts are cool because you're going to want to incentivize your customers to book your car for a longer period of time. So statistically, when you have bookings under 3 days, so bookings of 1 day you're going to have the most cases of theft, insurance claims, so people damaging your car, people smoking your car, people doing bad things. So statistically, that happens more so with shorter trips, which is why I think it's important to try to incentivize people to book your car longer. So when people book my car for more than 3 days, they get 5% off. They book it for more than 7 days, they get 10% off. Book it for more than 30, they get 15% off. I often don't get a lot of cars booked for over 30 days, and that's because my vehicles are pretty expensive. So a lot of people aren't going to want, it's not going to make sense to them to book it for 30 days if they do need a car for a long term. And then also you're going to add an early bird discount. The reason I like this is because it incentivizes people to book ahead of time. So when people book last minute, you're not able to adjust your schedule accordingly as much, which is why it's way better to have people book in advance, because if you have a lot of things going on, it's easier to plan ahead of time, which is why I try to incentivize people to book early. And that's all this is for. So 5%, if somebody books within 7 days, helps me plan my schedule better. I'm going to incentivize you. I'm going to give you 5% off. So discounts can definitely be used to your advantage and help you a lot when it comes to running your business thoroughly. Next, we'll go to location and delivery. So one of the things that sets Turo apart from anybody else and sets Turo apart from the major rental car companies like Enterprise, Hertz, Dollar, all those places, is that they offer delivery. And you're going to be able to make, depending on how you run your business, you're going to be able to make a lot of money off of delivery fees. That's if you have somebody that's able to help you with drop-offs and things like that. So I charge $120 for all the airports. So for example, I live only 15 minutes away from Oakland Airport. So it doesn't cost me a lot in gas, maybe like, a few bucks in gas to get over there, but I charge $120 for the delivery fee. So just from that, I'm able to make a lot of money when I have to deliver cars to Oakland Airport. These two, San Francisco and San Jose, are a little bit farther from me, so I'm still able to make money. But that one, since they're each about 30 minutes away from me, that's more time and more gas, but I'm still able to make money off of it when people are getting that delivery fee. Also, offering delivery is going to get you a lot more guests. So if you don't offer delivery, you're still going to be able to run a successful business on Turo. Don't get me wrong, but you're not going to get nearly as much bookings as if you do offer delivery. Turo also adds, so this search bar here allows you to put in a lot of different addresses. For example, the Clift Royal Sunset Hotel in San Francisco. Any place that's considered a landmark in your area, you can offer delivery to that area. So I only have the airports here because I want it to be simple. I don't want to have a bunch of different locations that I'm delivering to. But if you want, you can include a whole bunch of landmarks unique to your city and add them as delivery locations. And then obviously I offer delivery from my home. And then if somebody wants a location of their choice, something that's maybe not a landmark on the map, maybe they want it to deliver to their job or their house, things like that, I charge $120 as well. $120 is the max that you can charge for delivery fees, which is why mine is at $120. And I only deliver up to 25 miles if it's the guest location, because that is, a little bit inconvenient for me because it's, a location that's, to be determined. So I can't plan around it. So that's why I only allow 25 miles. And then here, if people book for 3 days or more for this car specifically, I allow free delivery for 3 days or more. And you don't have to have all these settings the same for all of your vehicles. Like, this is just specific to this car. So with my Porsche or my Chevy Camaro SS, I charge a lot more for things like, for example, I don't charge more because this is the highest, like I said. But I don't allow free delivery for 3 days. Like, you have to book for 5 days. For my Camaro, for my Porsche, you have to book 7 days until you get free delivery. So I'm more, more selective when it comes to those cars because they're more expensive. So I'm going to charge more for them. So you can definitely use deliveries is another thing that you're going to be able to use a lot to your advantage. And also Turo does take, they take 30% of the fees. So you only get 70% of all these fees. Just like with the daily trip, you only get a certain percentage of that as well, depending on which insurance plan you use. But we'll get to that later. So that's location and delivery. We'll go ahead and go to this guest insurance tab. I actually don't put instructions for the guests, and why that is because I go over all the directions and instructions inside the messages with the guest, or I'll text the guest, or I'll call the guest. So I'm very personable with my guests, and that's why I'm able to get such good reviews. So this guest instruction section, for me, I don't use it because I thoroughly communicate with my guests either over the phone, through text, or through the messages. Now you can use this section if you'd like. For me, it's not one that I think is super necessary, but it can be useful for you as well. So we'll go ahead and go to photos. Self-explanatory. So with photos, what I want to say about photos is that I recommend everybody to use a professional photographer in order to take all of your Turo photos. So the photos is the most important thing about your listing. It's the first thing people are going to see. If your car has really good photos, people are going to book more, and people are going to book at a higher price than if you just have, a photo that you took from like an old camera phone or something like that. I would definitely recommend doing professional photos. You can request professional photos through Turo. All you have to do is Google Turo professional photo shoot, and it'll come up. You'll be able to request a professional shoot with some of the people that Turo has. And sometimes they even do it for, in some locations they do it for free. And that's going to be depending on what area you're in. So that's the biggest thing about photos. Make sure you have professional photos. It might cost you a little bit for the one-time photo shoot for the cars, but I think it's always going to be better. If you're really good at photography yourself, or you have your own professional camera, that works too. But if not, 100%, I'm going to stress that more than enough. When I had, lesser quality photos versus when I did professional, my bookings increased by 25%. So that's all I'm going to say about photos. Make sure you have professional ones, and make sure you have at least 10 to 15 photos on your listing. The more photos you have, the more likely people are to book as well. If you only have 4 photos on here, you're not going to get as much bookings as if you have 10 or more. So those are the biggest things about photos. It's easy to rearrange, and pick which photo you want to come first. Really easy section. So then we're going to go ahead and go to details. So car details, also, self-explanatory. This part's really easy. License plate, number of seats, doors. Gas is one that you want to make sure you have. If you have a premium car like this, make sure it says premium gas on here, because if you have it at regular by accident and you have like a Camaro like this, or a Porsche, a BMW, and people are putting regular gas, it's not going to be good for your car, especially if you only consistently use premium. So make sure that's something you want to make sure that you have correct. The features here, this is something that you want to make sure is very, very on point. This has to be accurate. So here's the reason why. If you accidentally click this button, all-wheel drive, for example, and your car is not in all-wheel drive, and you get into an accident, Turo's, or not you get into an accident, one of your customers gets into an accident, Turo's not going to honor your claim because it's falsely advertised. And that specific thing has actually happened to me. So one of our vehicles that's on the fleet actually it was almost totaled. It wasn't quite totaled, but it was in a really bad accident. The car was damaged, over $6,000 in damaged. But because we accidentally had it on all-wheel drive here, Turo denied the claim. So when Turo denies the claim, you're going to have to go through your personal insurance, which luckily we had. But since we went through our personal insurance, we had to pay $1,000 deductible. Whereas with Turo, the deductible would have been $0. So that's $1,000 right there that I had to pay because, I had this wrong. And I'm not the only one who that's happened to. Some people have had that happen to them. I know a lot of other hosts that have had that happen to them as well. So you want to make sure your features are 100% accurate, so you don't ever have to run into that kind of situation. shoot, that tip alone just save you $1,000 on your deductible, or 500, whatever your deductible is. But that's something that happens to a lot of that I know happens to a lot of hosts when they're first starting off. And I'll go into more of that on the claim section as well, because there's a lot of things that there's a lot of reasons why Turo can deny your claim. So you want to make sure that you're always accurate, always on point, and that's going to save you a lot of money. I've lost a lot of money because of situations like that. So let's make sure you have these features 100% accurate. If your car has any special features that aren't listed here, you go ahead and put that in additional features. And then in the car description here, mine is pretty short and sweet, but like it says here, having at least 100 words actually does get you booked a lot. Here it shows up to 3 times more likely, which is very true. Mine's pretty simple, but my cars are booked about 95% of the time of every month. So I don't think having a longer description here is gonna do much for me. But a description like this is good enough. So I'd recommend that you definitely have a description. Have it at least a few sentences. You don't have to write a paragraph, but I think it's very important to have a car description for sure. The FAQs, if your car has any frequently asked questions, this is where you want to put it. For me, for example, with my Porsche, a lot of people, or I shouldn't say a lot, a few people have actually put the gas where the oil goes, because the oil reservoir is in the trunk. And for some reason, people think that that's where the gas goes, even though the gas is clearly on the right side of the car, just like a normal car. So for my Porsche, my FAQs, I would put gas tank is on the right hand passenger side, because that's happened to me actually 3 times. So this is a good tool to use if you have a car where you have consistent issues with the car. You want to go ahead and put in your frequently asked questions. You definitely want to put stuff in there. And then for all of my cars, I have this, that the car doesn't have fast track, because I don't have fast track in my car. So people used to have to pay cash. Now they just have to pay, you just go straight through, and then I just bill them once I get the ticket in the mail. So it's really important that I put no fast track in my cars, because if people do go through the fast track side on the toll bridges, then they're going to get charged extra. They're going to get charged a violation fee. So you want to make things easier for your guests, easier for you. So if you have consistent issues, consistently asked questions, definitely put those here. It's really going to help optimize your business and optimize your listing. Next, we're going to go to extras. So extras are really cool because it allows you to be really creative with your business. So one of the extras I have that's creative is this one-way trip. So for example, if somebody goes to LA or Vegas and drops the car off, at their airport or location there, then they have to pay me $600 for me to have to go ahead and get the car picked up and driven back to my home location. Another extra you can have is unlimited mileage. So that one just means that they can have unlimited mileage throughout their trip. So it's an extra $300. Right now, I believe my car is, I'm offering unlimited mileage for free right now. Just a promotion I have going on right on with my customers. So that doesn't really matter right now. But when I do have that off, and I am charging $200 miles, only 200 miles per trip, then people will add this on pretty frequently. This is post-trip cleaning. This just means that the guests can bring the car back in whatever condition. They don't have to clean the car back. They don't have to clean the car before they bring it back. And then prepaid fuel, that just means that they can bring the car's gas level back at any level. So the reason I say you can get pretty creative with this is just based on your area. Like let's say you live right by a beach. You can go ahead and you can add a surfboard. So if you're already a surfer, you have an extra surfboard, you could put surfboard in as extras. You could charge people $100 for a surfboard. If you live near the snow, you can, you could have a snowboard, or you could offer skis, you could offer a sled if you have, extra things like that. So that's why I say you can get creative. You can, put some of your personality in here. If you live in an area that's, pretty unique, that has cool stuff, and you notice that a lot of tourists come in there for specific reasons, then you can use this to your advantage, because people are going to find it really convenient if they can get their car and, get their skis at the same place, or get their snowshoes at the same place, things like that. It offers you creativity within your business. It allows you to use your location and your environment as an advantage to make you even more money. You can use, you could offer car seats, strollers. Those are for the moms out there that are running a Turo business that, have an extra stroller and know, the importance of having a car seat and a stroller when you're traveling. That can help a lot of people out. So Extras offers you to get real creative and make a lot of money. I personally make a lot of money off the unlimited mileage, and I make a lot of money off of the one-way trips. So for me, that's kind of, you know, my niche when it comes to extras, and I'm sure you guys will be able to find yours. Next, we'll go to distance included. Like I mentioned earlier, I currently have unlimited distance on as a promotion for my guests, so people are able to have you know, unlimited mileage. In the summertime, I'm going to turn it off because you are able to make a lot of money when people go over mileage on your car. So when you turn it off, here's where you can add. So 200 miles is the minimum miles that you have to allow per day. Like it says here, the more miles you add, the more bookings you're going to get. Obviously, people want the freedom to go as much miles as they want. So the more miles is going to be the better. If you do have a car on Turo that's valued over $50,000, you can do 100 miles. So 200 is the minimum that you have to allow for, you know, cars that are under 50,000. If you have a car over $50,000, then you can offer only 100 miles, which gives you the power to make more money off the mileage. And Turo they actually set how much the price per mile if you go over 200 miles per day. So when people go over 200 miles per day, then, you know, you're going to make a certain amount of money, and that's going to depend on the daily rate of your vehicle. So Turo actually explains that here. So depending on, you know, the daily rate of your car, that's how much mileage that they're going to be able to charge for mileage overage fees. Like I said, you're able to make a lot of money off of people going over mileage. It's going to happen a lot, especially depending on the car. If you have a sports cars, people are going to drive your mile. You're going to be able to make more money off the mileage than if you have an economy car. Because if you have an economy car, people are going to book your car expecting to have a lot of miles. If they book a Toyota Prius, they're going to expect to have, you know, at least 250 miles per day, you know, probably even more than that. A lot of Priuses or Toyota Camrys, I see people offer minimum like 500 miles per day. But if you have a Mustang, a convertible, you know, people are easily going to go over this. If somebody rents my car for one day, usually they're going like down the coast, they're going to wine country, things like that, and they're easily going to go over this. And, you know, it's easy for you to make like an extra $50 per trip just off the mileage. So that's a good tip for you guys to know when you're starting off your fleet, knowing how much that, you know, you're going to be able to charge for the mileage. All right, next is vehicle protection. So we have a whole section dedicated to claims and insurance. So I won't get too much into that here, but this is the section that you're going to be able to change your vehicle protection or even decline protection, which we'll talk about in the claims and insurance section. So if you go to change here, you know, you're able to toggle through if you want 60, 70, 75, 80, 85, and it, you know, shows you the differences in the coverages here. So I'm going to go over all the differences in a different section, but you'll always be able to refer to them here as well. And you can always change it very easily. All you have to do is click the button, choose the plan, and I'm going to do just this car, not all cars. I do have different insurances based on different cars. And yeah, insurance is really easy. It's easy to change. It's a very thorough topic to go through, which is why we have a whole section dedicated to it. But at least you guys, you know, you're able to see it here in this section. Next, we're going to go to trip history. This is just where you can look at past trips. For example, if you need to charge somebody because they got like a parking ticket with your car or they went through a toll, now you have to bill them. You just click on their name. You go ahead and go to charge for incidentals. Start an invoice, and then you're going to be able to charge. So that's the main reason that you're going to need to go to past trips is if you need to charge people for things for things that happened during their trip and their trip is now over. So that's why you're going to need to do that. So let's go back into it. All right, the last thing, trip preferences. So trip preferences is actually really important because that's where you're going to find Instant Book. So Instant Book, very important because if you have Instant Book on, you're going to get a lot more bookings. But the downside to Instant Book is that people are able to book your car without having to request. So you're not really able to do your own personal background check. So Turo does their own background check for each guest, each customer. But if you take your car off Instant Book, as you can see, my car isn't on Instant Book here, then you're able to have the power to have guests are going to have to request every time they book with you. So once they request, you can find out, okay, what are you guys using my car for? You can even ask them, hey, can I see one of your social media profiles just to get a better, background check on, how, their lives, the same way that employers do, the same way employers check you, your social media accounts. You could, you can ask them for, do you have a valid driver license? Things like that. You're able to vet the customers in advance. You have it on Instant Book. So to put it on Instant Book, you just go ahead and check these boxes. So that means it's instant book. My car can be instantly booked anywhere, guest locations, delivery location, or even home location. So that means they can book it right away. So when they book it right away, you're not able to, you're not able to vet the customer. You're not able to do a thorough examination of who they are and what they're using your car for. So that's the downside of Instant Book. And like I said, the upside is you're going to get way more bookings. So I recommend that you do what's best for you. Go through the process and, just see how you like it. I personally, I do a mix of both. Sometimes I have my car in Instant Book. Sometimes I have it on Instant Book at my home location. And if somebody wants it delivered to them, then they'll have to request first. But it might be to each their own. Based on your experience with TURO, you're gonna find out what you like better. Some people never put on Instant Book because they never want to have somebody rent their car that they haven't vetted first. For me, like I said, I do both. Sometimes I have it on Instant Book, sometimes I don't. Right now, I don't have it on Instant Book, and that's because of my schedule. I can't have people book just any time because I have to see if it aligns with my schedule. That's another thing that's good about not having on Instant Book. You're able to see like, oh, if somebody booked on a Tuesday at 5 p.m. and maybe I can't make it to the delivery location at that time, I can say no. Hey, I can't do this for you. Or you can even ask them, hey, like I can't deliver there, but if you have the availability, you can come pick it up from my location. So not having on Instant Books gives you a lot more control. So if you're somebody if you need to have that control over, you want more control over your business, then don't have it on Instant Book. If you're okay and you have the time, the capacity to, have people book whenever they want and, things like that, then have it on Instant Book because you are going to get more bookings. 100%, you're going to get more bookings with Instant Book. Next, we have advance notice. So I have all of these locations at 3 hours. So what that means is a guest can't book my car anything less than 3 hours in advance. So if somebody wants a car right away, like, oh, I'm at the airport, I need the car right away, they can't do that. They have to wait at least 3 hours. They have to book the car. If it's 3 p.m., they can't book the car until at least 6 p.m. And you can put it longer if you want, 12 hours, some of you have a day, some of you have 2 days. So like I said, that also is going to work more with your schedule. If you have these on an hour, that's when you're going to get the most bookings. And that's, pretty obvious because that gives the guests more control. So anytime the guest has more control, it's going to make you more money because you're being more flexible, catering to your guest needs. But it might not be the best for you, might not work the best for your schedule. So those are things you're going to want to take into account when you're optimizing your listing. Same thing with trip buffer. So that just means that if somebody has a trip that ends, that they're dropping off your car at 3, then you can't start another booking for at least 3 hours. You need 3 hours to clean your car. You need 3 hours to maybe take your car in for oil change or to your mechanic, things like that. That's what the trip buffer is for. And same, I have mine for 3 hours. And if you want, you can put yours at more. 3 hours is the minimum. Put yours 6, 12, a day, 2 days, 3 days. That's completely up to you. The next thing is going to be trip duration. So I have mine at any, so people could book for any amount of time with my vehicles. I don't mind if you have it for half a day or if you have it for 30 days. And that's because, I'm able to run this business. This is what I do full time, is run this business, and I have an Airbnb business, also invest in real estate. I do a lot of things, but I consider this, this is one thing that, I put, all my effort into. I put a lot of effort into it, I should say, most of my effort. So I'm able to have people book at any time. For you, it might be different. You might, the most you can do is 5 days. And why would you do that? That's because the longer people have your car, the less work you have to do. With me allowing people to book it for half a day, 1 day, 2 days, it's more work because it's more turnover for me. But, I'm also getting my car, I'm also being more flexible to the customer's needs, which is, able to make me more money and get me more traffic. So that's why I have it on any. Weekends, I require a 2-day minimum. So you can take this off if you'd like. I require 2-day minimum because weekend days, those days are, I don't want to be constantly having to check in and check out cars. So I make it so that people, if you're going to book on a Friday or Saturday, you can't just book it for one day. You can't just book it for a half day. You have to keep it for at least the whole weekend. And that clears up my weekends. So that gives me more time to, not having to be dealing with cars throughout the weekend. So I recommend to have that on for sure. Long-term trips, that just means that people who are, if they want to book for 30 days or more, then my car is going to be available to them. I don't get a lot of those, like I said, because my cars are so expensive, but I still allow people, if they want to, then they can book it for long-term if they'd like. So that's pretty much everything. That's a rundown of what you're going to need to do. That's pretty much your day-to-day activity and how you can navigate throughout your day-to-day activity with TURO. Other things that you're going to want to see on here, TURO Go. So that's if you have the digital device, which allows you to unlock your car digitally. That's going to help people who want this to be more of a passive income for them. For me, if I want customers to open the car without me having to be there, I just have a lockbox set up, which is a method that others can have. It's basically your own form of using this, because TURO Go does offer they do require a subscription fee and a startup payment, which is why I don't have it, because I feel like my method works just as good. But if you do want to set your car up on TURO Go, you can just reach out to TURO and see if it's available in your area. It's not available in every area yet, which is why I don't have it on here, which I'm not going to thoroughly go into it. The next thing is performance. So performance, you have to hit all these parameters if you want to be an all-star host. So all-star host is going to get you higher in search results. It's going to make your listing stand out to more people, and that's why it's important to become an all-star host. So for me, I've been an all-star host ever since they started doing what's called all-star host on TURO. Right now, I'm missing on 2 of these, but by the time July 15th, which is next assessment, I should be back up. My response rate and my acceptance rate's down. As you can see, that's because I haven't been accepting everybody, and that's specifically because I've been running into some issues with certain customers, which has kept me from accepting everybody. As you can see here, though, my commitment rate, which means that I honor when somebody does book a car, I'm not canceling on them last minute, so that's 97%. My 5-star rating is always great, and my completed trips, I'm completing the max amount of a number of trips that I need to per quarter. So you have to do at least 10 trips to be an all-star, 90% 5-star rating. You have to have 95% commitment rate. Your acceptance rate, which means the amount of people that you accept when they're requesting, has to be at 90%. And then your response rate. So you have to respond to your customers at least 95% of the time. So as of right now, response rate, acceptance rate is what I have to work on. So I know earlier in the course I mentioned Power Host. Power Host is different. So a Power Host is actually above an All-Star Host. And what it means to be a Power Host, you pretty much have to hit all these things, but there's actually also a revenue number. So to be a Power Host, you have to be bringing in at least $3,000 a month in revenue. And you have to be doing that for a whole year consistently before you can become a Power Host. So it took me a whole year to become a Power Host. A Power Host is the perks of being a Power Host. You get invited to certain events. You get to be more in touch with the TUROs, with their CEO, a lot of their higher ups. They give you they allow you to list different types of cars on TURO. So for example, right now with TURO, you can't list a car more than 12 years old. If you're a Power Host, they give you the power to list pretty much any car you want, as long as it's in a really good condition and it's safe to drive for your customers. So there's just a few things that they allow for you with the Power Host. Like I said, you're not going to be able to hit that for at least a full year of hitting all of these and hitting the revenue goal. But I just wanted to differentiate between the two. But when you're first starting off on TURO, this is the main one you want to hit. You want to become an all-star host and worry about the Power Host thing later. Next, reviews. That's pretty easy. Pretty self-explanatory. Just shows how all of your reviews. It gives you the ability to leave a public response to a review. So if somebody does leave you a bad review, they give you a chance to defend yourself here. Put what actually happened, your side of the story, things like that. And then on here it just shows more details about things that your areas to improve, and then, you know, highlight specific compliments that people give you, let you filter to last 30 days, 365, things like that. So that's pretty much that's pretty much the Turo website and the app. Here it also shows earnings. Not gonna, you know, dive into my earnings here. And it also allows you to, so we didn't go over the messages feature. That's because I don't want to show, you know, too many of the specific guests information on here. But other than that, that's pretty much everything that you need to know about navigating through the Turo app or the Turo website. With this information, this is something that you can constantly refer to anytime you know, have questions about, you know, how am I gonna, you know, how do I navigate through the Turo app or the website? You know, how do I do deliveries, or how am I going to do, how am I going to change my insurance plan? Anything you need to know with the app, this is going to be what you're going to be using exclusively to run your business on Turo. So this is a really important section. Make sure you know that you refer back to this anytime you need help. I'm glad to help you guys out with this, and I can't wait to see you guys on the next lesson.